This is Trend Following Radio, where great thinking comes alive. Nobel Prize winners, legendary traders, best-selling authors, and the pros that know what drive us irrational human beings. I am your host, Michael Covel. Not filtered, raw, honest. That's my passion.
I'm holding two books in my hand by the author Paul Arden. The first one, It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be. And the second one, Whatever You think the opposite. My understanding is Paul was an advertising executive, very high up. Someone can correct me if I'm wrong. He's passed on, no longer here. But these two little books, short and sweet, are a magic salve, a tonic for a time of chaos. A time where people are losing their minds. I put up a website in 1996. There was no social media. There was no ability for everyone to broadcast whatever inane, insane thought was rolling around inside their head. It was a time where you still had to prove yourself. You had to do the work. You had to show that you had done the work. And then maybe you would get followers. Well, we're past that stage. We're now at the stage, since so many people don't know what the hell they're talking about, that you get an audience. Because if you don't know what you're talking about, guess what? There's a ton of people listening that don't know what they're talking about. So it's a marriage made in heaven. A bunch of idiots grouped together with zero insight, zero knowledge, in many cases, zero education. Essentially, feral human beings existing entirely on emotion. This is our world in 2020. Now, I don't need to keep talking about that. I've probably talked about that kind of stuff too much on this podcast. So let me get into the salve again, the tonic for this day and age of not thinking. Back to Paul Arden. I want to read a few brief chapters from this book because they're great. Start being wrong and suddenly anything is possible. You're no longer trying to be infallible. You're in the unknown. There's no way of knowing what can happen. But there's more chance of it being amazing than if you try to be right. Of course, being wrong is a risk. People worry about suggesting stupid ideas because of what others will think. You will have been in meetings where new thinking has been called for at your original suggestion. Instead of saying, that's the kind of suggestion that leads to a novel solution, the room goes quiet. They look up to the ceiling, roll their eyes, and return to the discussion. Risks are a measure of people. People who won't take them are trying to preserve what they have. People who do take them often end up having more. Some risks have a future, and some people call them wrong. But being right may be like walking backwards, proving where you've been. Being wrong isn't in the future or in the past. Being wrong isn't anywhere, but being here. Best place to be, eh? Now, of course, I led off with that one first because it's very trend following. It's very life. If you think you're going to be right all the time, you're crazy. But if you don't try the experiment, you're crazy too. Because you see, you don't learn if you don't try. If you don't try, you're just an arrogant boob sitting there pontificating. You got to get in the game, get bloodied, take a shot to the head, get scarred, bleed out, everything under the sun, and get tough. Because when you get tough and you're wrong, you don't give a shit. You get back on the horse and you get back into the fight and you try again. Here's another great brief chapter. When it can't be done, do it. If you don't do it, it doesn't exist. A new idea can be either unfamiliar or silly or both. It can't be judged by description. It needs to be done, made to exist. It's unlikely that anyone will sanction the cost of something they don't understand. Therefore, you have no choice but to do it yourself, at whatever cost. You have to beg, to steal, and borrow to get it done. But that's for you to work out how you do it. That's exciting. It's difficult. It's fun. If it was easy, anyone could do it. The film Citizen Kane is a very good example. It was stolen, not sanctioned. Orson Welles could not find any backers, but he did raise a small sum for casting. He begged, borrowed, and cajoled people into building sets and shooting full-blown screen tests, which eventually formed a third of the film. It existed. Backers could see what they were getting. He got the money. Without him doing it, when it supposedly couldn't be done, it would be just another in the endless list of ideas that never happened. I relate to that one too. I'm not trying to toot my horn. I'm not trying to say I'm all that. But do you think anybody in scale would really know of the turtle story in 2020 if I wasn't a crazy SOB who went down the rabbit hole to be sued, threatened to be sued, etc., multiple times to find out what the damn story was? I don't know why I did that, but I did it. If I didn't do it, no one would know. No one would know this fantastic story. Now, if you take that kind of attitude, apply it to yourself, the world is your oyster. Possibilities are endless. But you got to step up. You have to take responsibility for your imagination. Because if it's rolling around in your head and you don't do it, you know when you're going to think about it next, if you don't do it? When you're on your deathbed. When you're laying there and you're thinking, damn, I really didn't do anything in my life. I just held a job. I just kind of wandered through. And then one day, when it gets close to the end, you'll look back and you'll say, fuck, I should have tried. I should have given it a shot. But I was too much of a you-know-what. Another brief chapter. Don't look for the next opportunity. The one you have in your hand is the opportunity. We're always waiting for the perfect brief from the perfect client. It almost never happens. You're probably working on a job or a project right now and saying, this is boring. Let's just deal with it and get it over with. We'll make the next one good. Whatever is on your desk right now, that's the one. Make it the best you possibly can. It may not be great, but at least you'll have the satisfaction of knowing you did the best you possibly could, and you may learn something from it. And you're always free to do an alternative that does satisfy your creative standards. Good briefs don't just come along. That's true. Even if you've earned a reputation for doing good work, although that helps, successful solutions are often made by people rebelling against bad briefs. Going back to my turtle book, I remember big contract from HarperCollins. And they saw my first draft and they were aghast. Now, this is after I had a first book, Trend Following, that had sold 100,000 copies. So they gave me a big contract. But when they saw my first draft, which in hindsight was probably modeled after my Trend Following book, they did not like it. They wanted something else. And they wanted other people to get involved to, quote, help me. I said, no. What's your deadline? What do you want exactly? And that's what I will give you. 90 days later, I had the 80,000 words written out that made up the book, The Complete Turtle Trader. It was their pushing. And I'm not saying their pushing was necessarily good, but it was the pushing that spurred me. Have you ever had that happen in your life? Somebody comes down on you. They don't support you. They give bad insights. And then that inspiration that you get to really do it great comes from that particular person. I look at all criticism like that. Maybe the criticism is something I can see that is an error in my way. Okay, I correct course. Or the criticism is so foolish, so stupid, so mindless. It forces me to go to another level, to bring the game up, to respond even more directly, even more succinctly, with even better prose. But now listen, if you don't get in the game, if you don't have critics, and I don't care what that game is, from running a fund, running a business, whatever it is, if you're not in the game taking licks, taking kicks to the head, well, shit. How are you ever going to know to adjust? How are you going to ever learn that criticism, good and bad, is useful if you're just sitting there? Now, I want to take a little time out to add a PSA here. What does all this information help somebody who's just complaining, who's just bitching, who has no personal responsibility, who blames everyone except the person in the mirror? Well, none of what I'm talking about today will help that person. If you are that person, please send me an email and tell me, why the hell do you listen to me? Another one that I love, do not try to win awards. Nearly everybody likes to win awards, trophies. Awards create glamour, and glamour creates income. But beware, awards are judged in committee by consensus of what is known. In other words, what is in fashion. But originality can't be fashionable because it hasn't as yet had the approval of the damn committee. Do not try to follow fashion. Be true to your subject and you will be far more likely to create something that is timeless. That's where the true art lies. And when you hear that phrase, true art, you could say money even. I mean, do you really think you get the big money from being in an index fund? No, by definition. You get exactly what your freaking neighbor gets. Who the hell wants to go through life being that average? Now, look, I'm just reading these because I think it's a weird time. It's a weird day and age. And this stuff motivates me. I can feel my excitement, my adrenaline going up. I want to go run through a damn wall. That feeling's the best. That's the feeling that carries you on whatever project you're involved in. You got to have that. If you're not dialed in, if you're just walking dead, you're not going to make it. It's got to be everything. It's got to be in your soul. If it's not, you're done. Absolutely done. And then you become one of these zombie fools wandering around America, blowing up buildings, blowing up cars, blowing up statues. Who wants to be those people? You think they're going to be the next civic leader? The next business owner? No. They're the dregs of society. The bottom feeders. Who wants to be a bottom feeder? I don't want to be a damn bottom feeder. I want to strive for excellence. I want to surround myself with people striving for excellence. There's no game left if you're not striving for excellence. Let me calm down and read a few more chapters from Paul Arden, which, again, are great. This simple one I posted on Facebook, and people just loved it. I think it got more feedback than anything that I've posted in months. The title, Beat This. A young man worked as a runner in an advertising firm. One day he said to his manager, "I'm leaving. I'm going to be a drummer." The manager said, "I didn't know you played the drums." He replied, "I don't, but I'm going to." A few years later, that young man played in a band with Eric Clapton and Jack Bruce, and it was called Cream. And the young man's name was Ginger Baker. He became what he wanted to become before he ever knew he could do it. He had a goal. That's so tough for people. So damn tough. You set the goal and you get there. If you say you can't do it because you don't have the experience and you don't have this and you don't have that, you'll never get there. You will absolutely never get there. No way, no how. But if you set the goal and you say you must get there, or the world, your family, and friends will think of you as a very tiny, tiny loser. If they think of you as a loser because you didn't get to the goal. Now, I'm not saying you're necessarily a loser because you didn't get to the goal. Well, maybe a little bit. But you see, this is the mental trick you need to do. You can't have excuses. If you've got a bunch of excuses on your plate, there is absolutely no way in hell that goal is going to happen. Set the goal, and you have to get there no matter what. If you do that, you got a chance of getting to the goal. If you don't do that, you have a 100% chance of not getting to the goal. Another great one, imagine. That's the brief title, imagine. Everyone wants an exciting life, but most people are afraid to take the bull by the horns. So they take an easy option for an exciting life. They live their excitement through other people. By aligning themselves with famous rebels, a little bit of glamour rubs off on them. They imagine they're like John Lennon, Ernest Hemingway, George Best, Liam Gallagher, Lenny Bruce, Janis Joplin, Damien Hirst, Andy Warhol, etc. The difference being, these people, when faced with a decision, took the outrageous one, not knowing where it might lead them, but knowing the safe decision had danger written all over it. Let's look at that through the trend following lens. If you are an investor who believes in buy and hold and long only mutual funds, that's the safe direction. The risk taker, the bold risk taker, realizes it's the unsafe direction. Now, I can't exactly explain to you why that is in a few minutes. I've read in many books about why that is. But if you go along with the group and you just trust the group and you have no plan to get away from the group, because sometimes if the trend is going your way and everybody's on board, okay, you're with the group. But the trick is, when do you separate from the group? Because if you have no separation plan, how the hell does that end up well? It doesn't. You have to know from the beginning when you get in, when you're getting out. I repeat that again so you can think about it. When you get into whatever, you need a plan for when you're getting out. If you don't have that, are you really a thinking person? Have you really laid out any kind of a plan? Are you thoughtful? Are you considerate? No. You're just emotion. You're just like the feral dog running around. Some feral dog with the mange running around. Who the hell wants to be a feral dog with the mange running around? Running around at Jim Jones, Guyana, drinking Kool-Aid. Come on. Now, I don't have any idea if Paul would have liked my interpretation of his two books. I can't say that I'm really interpreting them. I'm just reading them directly. I agree with them. Maybe his personality would have been a little more Sam Harris-like, a little less up and down inflection. But who cares? I'm me. It is what it is. And I got to tell you, both of those books, if you want a nice reminder of getting outside of the system, getting outside of the system's headspace, in a day and age where people are seemingly becoming zombies every damn day, Paul's two books, It's Not How Good You Are, It's How Good You Want to Be, and Whatever You Think, think the opposite. Buy them both. And you can go ahead and send me your PayPal commission for those recommendations. I'm easily found. Or you can just send me an email, michael@covel.com. I would love to hear from you, especially if you've got some explanation, some rationale about why these great mini chapters that I read today from Paul Arden are wrong. I really want to hear the thoughtful explanation about how he got it all messed up. I think you're going to be hard-pressed to find the counter-argument to what he lays down. If anything, if you get into his books and you want to have a counter-argument, but you really don't have one, well, that's good too. You will know that you have hit the wall and you have entered your own cognitive dissonance. Wham, bam, and you're in it. And now you got to face the fact that you want to fight against truth. Fighting against truth, damn, that never ends up too well. But all my best goes to you if you want to fight the truth.
I see a time when those awake will understand how to make money in up, down, and surprise markets. Whether new trader or experienced, college student or financial advisor, protecting against a crash or just trying to make a lot of money, trend following offers everyone an answer in uncertain times. To get started immediately, send me an email, michael@covel.com. I will send you the right trend following steps to take along with my free video. But if you want to buy and hold, trust the government and trust Wall Street, this is absolutely not for you.